Okay, I'm back. I think it's gonna work this time. I hope so. I did all the pictures. Hopefully you can see everything. Hopefully my stream health is gonna be decent. Let's do this Pop Snark for like the 30 millionth time, man. This is Pop Snark 51. Okay, it's gonna be a Pop Snark live. We're gonna do it full. It's always the best because doing things live and all the technical setups, man, I should really show you everything that I have set up right now. It's basura. But we are here. We're going to talk about everything from the low brow to the high brow, as long as your eyebrows are on fleek. It's a little bit of pop culture, political news, learn you something, teach you something, and talk a little shit, all right, while you have a cocktail. It's a clink, clink, and a clank. Are you ready for it? It's been so long since I've done a Pop Snark. My gosh. This is why it's literally like a full day's work. I need to get paid for this shit, but what the fuck ever. All right, so first up, let's just get into this because, girl, we done been here so many times. So for the 50 millionth time, this is officially, look at the picture come up correctly. Okay, lean your head over this way. Let's remember that. We're going to move to our left, not to our right. But this is officially a Normani Stan account. I love Normani. And I get it. Like, I always see so much shade directed to her from other black women in my age range and sphere of influence, and I just don't get it. I don't understand the shade thrown at Normani. I absolutely love the Wave song she did with Black, spelled 6 Black. I love that shit. And I love the little body roll she was doing in the video too. Like, yes, sis, okay, I can't hit it quite correctly, but I would like to hit it quite correctly. And I like that. So this motivation video, I love. It was directed by Dave Meyers, and I actually think it's one of his more simpler done when it comes to like animation and things. Hit to the left, not the right, okay? Animation thing, videos. I actually think this is a little bit more for Dave Meyers, but he's one of the unproblematic white men that I can be a fan of, and so I would like to keep it that way. Thanks for being good, Dave. Appreciate it. But I really love all the nods to the women that have come before Normani. I mean, I love all the nods to 90 eras music videos, even though, I mean, I guess it's more early 2000s. I'm inclined to want to say late 90s, but what I'm really thinking of is stuff that was popular from when I was in high school and 106 in Park. You know, I was a free, and what's the tall nigga with the locks? AJ, that dude. Okay, that was the age I grew up in, and so, or at least I was a teenager in. And so the nods to Ciara, to Ashanti, to Beyonce, to Janet Jackson, I just love it. And of course, you know, we do love a good dose of representation. The young Normani watching 106 in Park herself, seeing a dark-skinned young black girl be so poppin', be so hoppin', and for her to be unproblematic herself and give nods to the plus-size woman who got the man. I mean, I love it all. I just think everything about the video is dope. It's very much so an Ariana Grande song-esque song. I mean, Ariana wrote the song, so it is very much so in the pop canon. Did I say that word correctly this time for y'all? So I get people, it might not be for those of us who like more sultry and R&B type stuff, but I think Normani does a good range of music, that there's a hit for everyone in there. But just because you are over 30 and you can't name 2 Normani songs does not mean that Normani is not popping, right? So we are going to say nothing bad about Normani on this here YouTube channel. All right, so when I did my on Instagram, I had posted a question for y'all to submit the topic to me to discuss some Pop Snark, and everybody and their mama was like JayZ. Everybody want to talk about JayZ and NFL, and girl, a cap was gonna capitalize. I've been saying it. Did I tell you what I was drinking? It's lemonade and to the left, not to the right. It's lemonade and Prosecco. We're keeping it light because I haven't eaten enough, and I gotta eat after this before I start sipping on the whiskeys. We like to be cognizant for this entire Pop Snark. But everyone asked about JayZ and NFL. Everybody asked about JayZ and the NFL. And I just think, I don't really get like the people that are, where do we go? I mean, I feel like you kind of already know where I'm at on this. He's a capitalist. I'm not with the shits. I'm not with him trying to profit off of the activism and sacrifice of others. And, you know, use his power to then co-sign the NFL, who still has not corrected, you know, beyond Colin Kaepernick, there is the issue that the NFL does not hire black coaches. There is also the issue that, like, do we understand? It's like, I see people say, saying, well, if NFL players, people still play for the NFL and they're making money through the NFL, why can't JayZ profit from it? And as I was saying on the Pop Snark I did yesterday, I don't think, have we ever before during, I think that's only being said because people perceive NFL players as wealthy. And do we really understand what these contracts involve and the sort of wear and tear that goes on their bodies, and how disadvantaged black NFL players tend to be to their white counterparts, and even how having like an a black quarterback is like a big deal because of the racism that's been embedded into the history of the NFL? And have we ever in the history of like looking at activists said, oh, you shouldn't work there, you should quit your job? So like if people are protesting against the environment that they work in a school cafeteria, are we telling school cafeteria workers, oh, well, just quit your job? Because we understand at the disadvantage they're at to like not work and how much working means to their livelihood. And I think we're only making these comments because we perceive every NFL player as like wealthy and able to carry the burden of quitting, which doesn't really make sense in the way that activism goes, but whatever. And I don't think anyone that doesn't co-sign JayZ's move with the NFL and Roc Nation's move with the NFL, I haven't seen anyone calling for the cancellation of JayZ. And so it's weird to watch this conversation happen where people are rightfully and sometimes wrongfully critiquing JayZ, and then the pushback is, oh, you just want to cancel it. Oh, cancel culture doesn't work. But like, who's canceling him? Can we just critique the work he's done? Can we actually just look at his record? And I think my issue is that like JayZ's very steeped in respectability politics, which is weird. Like, why didn't you bring along Kaepernick in this? Like, why didn't you bring along other NFL players who have been socially active, past Kaepernick, and bring them into the table? He did this between Goodell, himself, and Roc Nation. He didn't include other players and other actual activists in this process. Also, my thing is like, JayZ has what is it called? Like Reclaim or Resolve or something. Whatever the little organization. Bitch, what did this fell in my kitchen? Whatever that organization is that he used to help get Meek Mill out of prison. Robert Kraft, does he own the NFL? He's like the head of NFL. Girl, I don't even know what these white men be doing. They with the shits, they wealthy and they Trump supporters. And you have him sitting on the board of your social advocacy group. And I just think, it's just some point I think JayZ's kind of out of touch. And everyone gets wealthy. I think it's so interesting to watch black artists and just black people in general hit this sort of like, wealth where JayZ is close to, if not already a billionaire. And then they get steeped in respectability politics regardless of the foundation that they come from. JayZ grew up in a single parent household with a mother who's a lesbian. And he legit still thinks that like people are committing crime because they don't have authority figures in their life, as if a mother can't be an authority figure. Like, I don't be getting it. But whatever, I'm going to capitalize. And, what JayZ said when he was with Roger Goodell at the conference, he was like, we forget that Colin, hold on, let me pull it up because I can't read that little font I got on my screen, but there's a quote for y'all so y'all can read along with me. We forget that Colin's whole thing was to bring attention to social injustice. In that case, this is a success. This is the next phase. There are two parts of protesting. You go outside and you protest, and then the company or the individual says, I hear you, what do we do next? I guess what we do next is we offer merchandise and Meghan Trainor. Then he said, for me, it's like action, an actionable item. What are we going to do with it? Everyone heard, we hear what you're saying, and everyone knows I agree with what you're saying. He's referring to Kaepernick. So what are we going to do? You know what I'm saying? We're going to help millions and millions of people, or are we going to get stuck on Colin not having a job? And I get it. I think someone had commented previously that, well, Colin got the Nike contract. And I mean, I think it's true. Colin was able in some way to profit from, his brand did profit from becoming a social advocate, but his brand didn't profit from him saying that the racist institution was now correct. And I think there is a conversation, and there was a critique of Colin being heralded as some sort of significant activist. And there's always going to be that critique when someone reaches fame for their activism, and how that is implicit in the erasure of the activists on the ground, which is largely black women and black queer folk. But, you know, Jay-Z's now giving you Meghan Trainor. This is what we get. A white girl singing to you. I mean, I guess you can buy concert tickets if you like it. You can get the merchandise when it comes out. But I actually think that there was an article in The Nation which said that, well, it's titled Jay-Z's a Capitalist, which is, I think, is accurate. And if you're okay with capitalism, if you think capitalism is going to benefit you, then by all means co-sign this. But for the vast majority of us, it's not. And it really is just like, you know, it's like he's kind of co-signing. You pressure a corporation until you perceive that they're woke, and then you partner with them to enact social change. And, you know, I think with Jay-Z partnering with the NFL, he is saying that he co-signs their newfound social consciousness, even though they still bankroll Donald Trump, even though they still don't hire black coaches, and even though they still blackball a athlete like Colin Kaepernick, but they don't do the same thing across the board for other football players who cross the line, whether it's domestic violence or violence at large. Like, the NFL has a lot of issues, and so that's that on that. It's a ramble. It's a thing. Thank y'all for all the polite hair comments. It's popping. I be getting all the looks now. It's cool. It's kind of interesting though, because my hair is growing in, so whatever. It's changing colors. What's next? Okay, the fires in Brazil. So there's the Amazon is on fire, and it's kind of tipping over into the mainstream American news source. There's been a lot of discussion about it. There's actually a really good article in The Atlantic. Once I'm done with this video, I'll add links to the description box. Remind me. But connecting why the Amazon being on fire matters to the international ecosystem. And I think what gets lost, maybe, or I don't know if it gets lost, but I don't know if it's really being understood in mass, how when we talk about climate change, like, that we are all very much so connected, that what is happening in Southeast Asia, in Central Africa, what happens in Central America and South America does impact us. And it impacts the way, you know, we both impacted on the negative of it, and it impacts us negatively. It's all one circular ecosystem, and we aren't just, oh, I'm living in America and I'm good, I don't care what's happening here. But the way, even like you go to the store and you buy produce, the way, you know, and then you get into how like immigration impacts this stuff and why people are immigrating. I think what we're again not talking about is how climate change heightens immigration, because when climate change negatively impacts your ecosystem on a local level, you lose infrastructure, you lose economy, you lose access to jobs, especially if you live in an agricultural society. It's like, you know, you go to the store, you wonder why your avocados are $2 a piece. Climate change, like immigration, like all this stuff is interconnected. And what's so bad about the Amazon is that Amazon is such a huge chunk of Brazil, and it is so important to the world ecosystem and how climate change impacts us, how the quality of air, the resources that we have. And this is actually what's happening in Brazil is connected to this lovely space that I exist here on YouTube. So I'm not Portuguese, we're not Brazilian, we're gonna be, you know, I can't even say the French names, we're gonna try, sis, we're gonna hit it with the this nigga colonizes, so whatever. We're gonna hit it with the African American tongue, that's what we calling it today. But Jair Bolsonaro, fuck him. Okay, so he is a far-right politician who is currently the president of Brazil. And The Weekly, which is a series produced by the New York Times, it comes on FX, I think on Sundays, and then a week later it's on Hulu for those of you that don't have cable. And then sometimes they post the videos here on YouTube or the articles in the New York Times or the videos on the New York Times. And they have an episode particularly about Brazil and the far-right movement and how the far-right movement was built up on YouTube and how this Bolsonaro, am I saying it wrong or right? Oh, where my notes at? Bolsonaro. Yeah, Bolsonaro. Anywho, he Brazilian, but his family's from Italy and Germany. So, like, he white. But, he was a fringe politician until this far-right movement came to popularity in Brazil. And then they were able to not only elect a bunch of people from the far-right movement, but they were also able to elevate him to the presidency. And it's just kind of weird how young people are really grasping onto this. I mean, it really just is young men. Bruh. Man finna kill us all. But it's really worth watching. It's only like 20, 30 minutes, and it breaks down the whole why this is really specific to Brazil and how it's heightened more than any other country, with fringe movements being able to grow to popularity via YouTube. And I know YouTube is like aware of this more than they might want to acknowledge, because I know that maybe like 3-4 years ago they were actively looking for people of color and Black Brazilians on YouTube to help promote and then get more into the Creators for Change program. The year I did it, there was 2 Black Brazilians, Natalie, and I can never remember the young man's name or how to pronounce his name. I can like see it. It's like Moreno, which I want to say is Portuguese for brown, but it's not that. But they were in the Credits for Change program with me. And it's just wild to watch people like invest in these like politics that are so harmful to people. I mean, I don't even understand why these movements are so invested in just like everything that's wrong, though. You know, like they're racist, they're anti-climate change, they're for big corporations. I don't get it. And this guy in particular has like the Trump administration has sought to weaken environmental laws to allow for logging in the Amazon. And part of logging is burning the Amazon down. And part of the project that I did with Ford Foundation, in which the young man whose name I can't remember how to pronounce, he did that project with me too, where we met indigenous people. We met Brazilian indigenous people, but it was mostly South Central America and Southeast Asia. I still have to finish that video project, but I do have a video. If I had an assistant that could help me with this, they could add links right here, right now. But it is the video is called "Bitches in the Forest," because meeting indigenous people and talking about climate change was so far out of the realm of the things that I think about on a day-to-day basis. But I'm so grateful for that opportunity, because it really has enlightened me for, especially with the way things are going currently with the climate change conversation. It's a big deal, and we should be concerned, because who's next up? You know, what gets hit the hardest in America? Black communities. Well, rural communities and Black communities. So we should be concerned, and we should be paying attention, and we should. I just don't. I mean, it's not my responsibility to not re-elect the orange popsicle next year, but that's that on that. Okay. Next up, let's get back into some ratchet love and hip hop. Future. All right. So apparently, Future has 8 kids. But he don't have 8 kids. Ooh, who gave me $5? Holla. Where is it going? Oh, thank you, Wahama. Yes, please give me a thumbs up. Be active, sis. Thank you, sis. Everyone's just going to keep commenting on my hair. Oh my gosh, her hair. All right, but let's talk about Future. So, Wendy Williams did a chart going over all his baby mothers. And if we see here, there's 6. There's Jessica, India, Brittany, Sierra, Joey Chavez, who is also Bow Wow's baby moms, and now Eliza Rain, a young Haitian lady from Miami, who just had a daughter. And so it's supposedly Future has another child who Eliza like pseudo outed on her IG stories by a young lady named Cindy. And everyone keeps saying it's his 8th baby moms. But I'm pretty sure per this chart that would actually put him at 7. I mean, what's worse? What's better? 7 baby moms, 8 baby moms? Like, what are we doing here? But I'm pretty sure this chart is actually accurate, because we have to remember when Sierra was still with the shits. I mean, you know what's interesting about Sierra is I'm not mad at her branding. I'm not mad at her riding the wave of like finding a good cornball to marry. And, you know, they living a life. I'm not shading it at all. I mean, we could say Russell a little corny, but he makes a good husband. I'm with the shits, and if he digging her down good, and, you know, as I said earlier, is that hypergamy? If that's what y'all talking about, whatever, I'm here for it. You know, but it's interesting to see her branding go a certain way, and everyone's celebrating her now, because I just don't comment on nothing, because I just be like, sis, you would tell us all to mind our business when we're trying to tell you not to fuck with Future. So if I was supposed to mind my business then, I'm going to mind my business now. But whatever. The larger point is, when they had a little key, at the time when Sierra had her child named Future, there were only 3 other baby moms. And so since then, there has now been Joey and Eliza, which put it 6. And then this young lady who is saying that her son, Legend, is Future's child. I'm not really for like, am I gonna shame the women for, and I'm gonna troll y'all because this whole the comments on my hypergamy video got me thrown like the most selective hearing I've ever seen in my entire life. But if we are caping, whatever for hypergamy, wouldn't this be it? Like, secure the bag. You'd rather be crying in the Rolls Royce than the Nissan. And so I guess cis wanted, you know, these women are like, I will sleep with him and take the risk of having a child with him because at least I'm securing a bag. And he don't want to be an active father, but he'll be a financial father. So I'll take what it can with it. Now, what's sending me is that this child's name is Legend, middle name ARY. Take a pause. Legendary. So creative. Wow. I guess if that's what works for you, sis. And they're saying the babies look alike. Here's Legend and Future as a child. Do they look alike? Does this look alike to you? What this? I don't know. What y'all saying? I mean, people do keep bringing up what about STDs, but like, I think what's happening is like the women. He's wealthy enough that he can go to a doctor. I think there is a conversation happening about him getting tested. And I'm not at all suggesting that wealthier men have less STDs or STIs. They be just as nasty. And I think no one's wrong with the assumption that Future is nasty. But from what Eliza has said and the other women have talked about how they ended up in at least sexual relationship is that like they are consistently like side pieces, I guess. I don't know. No one's come out and say that they've caught anything from him. So that is interesting. He probably dicking everybody down and giving them HPV. Everyone's going to have cervical cancer in about 20 years. But I don't know, girl. I can't answer that. I don't know what's happening there. Because I would be like, yeast infections at least? He's clearly not wrapping the dick up ever. So he's just passing all these different bodily fluids and pH balances. But I don't know. Niggas be weird. Have you ever actually talked to a guy who's like a hoe? I have. Where were we at? CIAA. Right here in Charlotte. And I met this Q who was just fucking everything. And he literally he bust out a bottle, like a spray bottle. And he's like, he sprays this on his dick. Don't wear condoms, but he sprays some shit on his dick. I don't have the answers on this. I would love to know. Maybe DJ Vlad can like interview Future and ask him like what's happening with the STDs because I don't know. More serious topics. The New York Times did a project called 1619. I actually ordered 2 copies of this. They have not come in the mail yet. Says, why I pay $10 shipping for priority. Where's my shit? But I can't be mad. Because I'm really happy that this project is so popular. But Nicole Hannah Jones, why do I always want to say? I always want to call her Nana Hoffrey. What the fuck ever, bruh. Let me look this shit up on Twitter real quick. 1619. Okay, so 1619 is the year that the first... All right, her name is Nicole Hannah Jones. I wasn't wrong. Thank you. But she spearheaded the 1619 project with the New York Times, which is it's titled that as a nod to August 1619 when it's considered the first slave ship arrived at Port Comfort, Virginia. It's so interesting that the first slave ship arrived at a port called Comfort. And there's now a 1619 podcast, which is on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere you get podcasts. The first episode was part of the Daily, which is the New York Times Daily podcast. And the second episode actually came out yesterday. And it has one of my favorite authors on it, Jessamine Ward, is reading one of her short stories about the slave trade. But it's a major initiative for the New York Times, observing the 400th anniversary of the beginning of the American slave trade. And it's part of its aim is to reframe the way we understand Black history and American history at large, and understanding how our foundation and the consequences of slavery have transpired down through, our history, like how embedded it foundationally is into our history. And so it is available online for the free. You can download a PDF. I don't know if you can download a PDF without a subscription, but things like that, I like to be able to highlight and take notes and like read in my hand. So I'm waiting to get it. And, depending on what I glean from it, maybe there might be various topics to discuss. But even like, I know a lot of us now are at least acutely aware of what redlining was and how like zoning and housing rights have impacted the access and equity that the Black community has to financially sustain themselves, which they don't, pretty much. How most highways were built right through Black communities and how things like that were stymied. So they gather a bunch of historians, a bunch of writers, and it is a huge project. If you've gotten it because you live in New York and you were able to get copies of it, it would be hitting. Yes. I can't really see where the thumbs up is thing on here. Tag. Oh, duh. Oh, is that 20 euros? Tanisha always come through though, sis. You always be supporting. I need to send you something nice. I think I got your address. Is you in Korea still? You still in the militaries? Thank you, love. I really appreciate it. Pop out chat. I wanted to like be snarky and play an ad right now. So I could take a breath. Oh, wait, here goes. Wait, okay. Let's see. Does it play an ad? Is that how that works? All right. Okay, next topic. Anywho. Another news topic. Okay, so there are protests happening in Hong Kong. I tried to. I hit play ad. I don't think anything played. Oh, it might be playing an ad now. I'll tell you guys what my setup is at the end. Actually, but if you go back on any of my videos, my regular videos, all the way at the bottom, I list all my tech info. It is literally, I was just trying to figure out how to use the equipment that I have. So I'll get into it at the end, but it's literally posted in all the description boxes of not on this one, but on all my regular videos, it goes up, and it's the same equipment. It just took me forever to figure out how to like plug this shit in and get it to not be purple, green, or blue. Okay. But yeah, so there are protests happening in Hong Kong. They're pro-democracy protests. Bruh, I'm still trying to work through like what systems of government do I actually agree with. And I don't actually think, in the words of Frantz Fanon, in the theories of Frantz Fanon, I do not believe that democracy is necessarily for everyone. But the issue with Hong Kong is that Hong Kong for years was a colony of England, of the United Kingdoms. And then what was it, 99? When they handed it over to China, per the agreement. And China is an authoritarian. I'm careful about it is a communist society, but is it true communism? No, because there's a lot of private wealth and enterprise that exists there. I don't really think there is. We're not going to get into all that theory. We're not. I'm just thinking of that because people keep saying I'm a Marxist and I'm not, but okay. But Hong Kong really is a center of capitalism. I've been to Hong Kong. I have a few Black homegirls who live in Hong Kong because there's a lot of financial institutions with large outputs. Not really headquarters, but like headquarters size corporate offices in Hong Kong. Capitalism going to capitalize. Imperialism going to imperialize. The British definitely handed it over to China, but did they pull out entirely of the the financial ecosystem that exists in Hong Kong? No. And what I was kind of surprised at when I went to Hong Kong was how small and expensive the apartments are. Like, my homegirl was paying $2,200-$2,300 for like a 2-bedroom that was fit into 700 square feet. And that to me is like absurd. Like, their kitchens are literally galley, like your stove is on the counter. It's like you might have 2 burners. And she works for a financial institution, so she's making good money. So I'm like, what is the middle class? Like, how are they living? And when you go out to, like, what I realize is there's a McDonald's and a 7-Eleven on every corner in Hong Kong. And there's a lot of things for, like, non-natives, right? I don't even want to say tourists, because there are a lot of expats living in the HK. But I just felt like it was like a cleaner New York City. Not quite like London, because it's not as diverse as London, but it did feel like a cleaner version of New York. Like, you could go, everyone goes out to eat. Liquor is very expensive there. But if you ever, like, went into, like, the buildings and went upstairs, you would find that there were cafeterias upstairs. You know, everything's in Chinese. So, clearly, yeah, I think I went and got, like, Indian food. So I went into a market once, and I saw, like, all these people, like, cramped up in, like, the cafeteria, like, eating, like, I don't know, kanji, whatever they eat out there. I don't really like Chinese food, aside from the dumplings. It's just a little different. I like Americanized Chinese food. You know, give me my pork tips and fried rice. But you start talking about kanji and, like, fertilized shit, ain't with the shits. But I'm not surprised that these protests are happening, because a lot of the native Hong Kong people are really living in despair. And there's, you know, it is getting to the point in a lot of societies where capitalism is really kind of wringing the labor out of this without giving them any, I keep saying equity, which is essentially both like access, both like tools, both like means. They are the mode of production, you know what I mean? Like, they are the laborers, but they don't have the means to self-sustain, right? It's very expensive to live there, and people are essentially being pushed out. And now with China agreeing to let them have an autonomous government, but saying that they're going to come in, but trying to change the laws, people are revolting, and that's essentially what's happening. And I think any sort of protests that are happening towards democracy, that are pushing back against the lack of economic infrastructure that allows people to self-sustain and even live mildly comfortable lives, I think we should be paying attention to, because all this shit, Deutsche Bank, Wells Fargo, all that shit, all this shit is connected to how we live here. All of it. And the trade wars with China between the Orange Buffoon or whatever is whatever, but just be aware. All right, I think I have a few more political things, lined up before I get back into the pop culture. So, Jay Inslee and Christine Gillibrand. Inslee is the governor of Washington. He had a very climate change centered campaign that I felt was very, very important. I'm actually kind of sad to see him go, because I think Hickenlooper, a couple of the white guys could have gone before him, including Beto O'Rourke and de Blasio, which is interesting because Kirsten Gillibrand is a senator in New York State, and if she could drop out, she had a very pro women's rights, equality, equal rights campaign narrative. If they can both realize that they should not be running, and they don't, they're not going to be able to generate enough movement to make their campaigns worthwhile. And I think they both had very important campaigns because they pushed the conversations a certain way. Because Inslee was camping so hard on climate change, he does force the hands. It's like the same way that Bernie existing, whether or not you think Bernie should be the president or not, that I think Bernie's campaign is very important towards the way presidential elections go, because that is when it's sort of like the masses come into like a better understanding of politics. I keep talking about how local elections matter. I keep talking about how your state politics are very, very important. But, I think we still have a long way to go before people really get on to paying attention to what's happening locally. And the presidential election is still a time where a lot of things kind of tip over and make us think about it more. Even the way that we have gone from talking about student loan debt, talking about the expense of college, talking about health insurance. We've really moved the scale a lot into a lot more progressive conversation from 12 years ago, largely because of the way presidential elections have gone. And so I think both of their campaigns were important. I just wish that de Blasio would have dropped out. Don't nobody like you, bruh. Bye. Hickenlooper can go. The nigga from Montana can go. Beto O'Rourke. I don't blame O'Rourke for not running a Senate campaign against Cornyn because it's going to be so expensive. But if anyone was in a better position to do it, I think it would have been him. Not since I don't. But I think part of what hit Gillibrand was because she was one of the senators who led the campaign that pushed Al Franken to resign. The comedian from SNL who became senator. Where was he senator at? Minnesota? Somewhere in the Midwest. Girl. Iowa? Doesn't matter. He resigned. He resigned over, largely, it was this picture here that started the whole thing about whether or not Franken had crossed a line in the Me Too movement in the sexual assault allegations. And Gillibrand, not simply because of this picture, but because like maybe 6 or 7 other women came out with stories. And Franken kept saying, oh, well, I'm just going to let the ethics community do an investigation because I feel like I have a right to investigation. And Gillibrand did spearhead gathering a bunch of senators together and saying that he should resign. And she did an interview. I listen to The Daily every day, so I do reference his podcast a lot. There was an episode with Gillibrand about her campaign around women's rights and equal rights and around her actions with Franken. And I remember listening to that and thinking, oh, sis is not going to make it. Because even she acknowledged how much the Franken thing is going to hurt her campaign in the long run, because there was a long read in the New Yorker going back over all the details of the Franken incidents, and it kind of posited that Franken should have resigned. But to Gillibrand's credit, she said, well, Franken never came to her office to talk to her. If Franken wanted to not resign, he didn't have to resign. They made a call, but he didn't have to respond to that call in the way he did. He didn't come to their office, sit down and talk to them. But then I think on the flip side, on Franken's side, he's like, well, they didn't come talk to me. And we all have worked together. We're all Democrats. We all are on coalitions together. It's just muddy. It's complicated. I ain't caping for no white man. I ain't caping for no white woman. So that's that on that. The Q-Tip Cory Booker still in the primary. So. All right. Maria Sharapova. Why are we talking about another white woman? Because of this. She posted in her book, her new book, there's a quote that says, Serena and I should be friends. We love the same thing. We have the same passions. Only a few people in the world know what we know, what it feels like in the dead center of this storm, to fear and anger that drive you. How it is to win and how it is to lose. But we are not friends, not at all. I think to some extent we have driven each other. Maybe that's better than being friends. Maybe that's what it takes to fire up the proper fury. Only when you have the intense antagonism can you find the strength to finish her off. But who knows? Someday, when all this is in our past, maybe we'll become friends or not. You can never tell. Now, this white bitch is out her God-given mind. Is she Russian? Is she Ukrainian? Wherever the fuck she from? Take her back. Leave her there. Because she crazy. You know how many times Maria Sharapova has beaten Serena out of the last 22 matches? 2 times. That's not a competition. You a loser. You lose. There's no antagonism. You are not pushing Serena to be better. You're whack. You got caught doping. You are useless. This is such white woman privilege. It disgusts me. Girl, bye. And then Serena proceeded to beat your ass again the other week. Girl, get gone. I hope nobody buys that book. That shit is trash. Moving on. I know, yes, I did not watch a tennis match between what's her name? Naomi. Oddly enough, Naomi is one of my favorite black girl names. Is Naomi really a black girl name? I don't know if I would name my daughter Naomi, but I love the name Naomi. I have an image of a black woman that I see when I think of the name Naomi. Was there a Naomi in my life as a child? I don't remember. I should call my mom and ask her, but I really like that name. But Coco Gauff, I don't know how to say her last name. Let me not fuck it up. Coco and Naomi Osaka competed. And I think, it's just great to see. Naomi is currently seated as number 1. I don't know what Coco, I said Coco? Naomi is seated at number 1. I don't know what Coco is seated at, but she's only 15 years old. Both of these are young black women doing the damn thing. To watch them compete, I ain't watched them compete, but I saw people talking about it on Twitter, so I'm sure it was enlightening. Maybe I'll go back and watch it. But you know, again, the motivation, the inspiration, what this means for a larger audience to be able to see this, more than Sharapova losing again, it is great. And the sort of sportsmanship, you know, seeing Serena and Venus's legacy play out like this with these two young girls, and just the heart and compassion that they have for each other, that really was. I'm finna go back and watch the whole match once I get through all the other things I need to do today. Put it on the TV. Okay? I was really, really happy to see that. Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle is So Dave Chappelle has a three show deal with Netflix for $60 million. So is this his second show? His second special, 3 special deal? This is his second special? Girl, if people tell you, people from the community and the community at large tells you that something is offensive, you as a member not from that community do not have a right to tell them that they are too sensitive. Okay? If an oppressed minority community tells you at large, maybe you have a conversation to come to a better understanding of why it's offensive. But I think the larger issue with Dave Chappelle is the same issue that we are having with JayZ. In that Dave was married to his Asian wife, living on a farm in Bumblefuck, Ohio, making bank. And he's not the nigga from the hood no more. He don't relate. He don't. And I didn't really watch I didn't watch the whole second special. Lay Nigga put it on because he liked comedy. I actually find a lot of black male comedy to be a little brusque. And since I don't want to peddle an outrage, I just leave it alone. I don't mind that people like, what's that, 96, 95 South, 895 South, whatever that show, girl. I don't want to have to sit here and cape all day about the misogyny and the anti-black women and the homophobia. So I just leave that shit alone. Let people enjoy it where they enjoy it at. But my thing with Dave is like, my whole thing with Dave is that, like, he hasn't grown. And I think I felt like the humor, I watched 30 minutes of it. I watched the first 30 minutes of it. So I saw the jokes about Michael Jackson, his whole jokes about not being able to say the F word, but being able to say nigger. I thought it was lazy. And I think that he could have got to his point in a lot better of a way. I think even for his caliber of comedian that he was, and for those of us that did enjoy the Chappelle show, I just felt like I would like some growth. And I think we as a society has grown and Dave has not, because he doesn't have to, because of power and privilege. And I can't ever condone someone making jokes about child rape. I don't really have a dog in the fight when it comes to the whole Michael Jackson allegations. Whether you think Wade Robeson and the other white boy are telling the truth, whether you think they're lying, I think at this point we're too far gone to ever know the truth. And so I just don't engage in a conversation about it at all, especially because, you know, I think there are ethical critiques that are correct on both sides of the argument. And so I just think it's lazy to make jokes about, like, a child enjoying getting their dick sucked by Michael Jackson. I just don't, like, it's not. And yeah, he's punching down now, and it just seems he's really hurt by and I don't even think he got that bad of a pushback from his first special about the transphobic comments. I think people called him out on it, but people love Dave so much. People are very sensitive to the fact that he supposedly went to South Africa when he was really in rehab, and at the height of his show, and stopped everything. You know, we're very sympathetic to Dave, even though a lot of who he has become in these later years, there are valid critiques of. So I don't think he's ever gotten really bad pushback, and he's more punching down for, like, his peers, which is really weird. You know, I didn't find the nigga F word joke to be funny. I mean, if you wanna, if you, I don't get it even in the context of who Dave is. Like, he does say the N word a lot. Like, it would be like me making a joke about pejorative that I'm not allowed to use, but then being like, I'm not a nigga. But like, I don't know. I gotta use the word all the time, and I'm okay with using the word because I'm black. And it's like the joke didn't really line up to me because the lady was, as he tells it, she said, "Well, you're black, Dave, so you could say the word because it's an offensive word to black people, and I can't police your tone when it comes to other black people, but you're not gay." Well, I'm not a nigger. Is that how you've been using the N word in your skits though? I don't know. It's like, if it has to be explained that much, then no, it doesn't make sense. And it just felt like he just wanted a reason to say that, you know, and then he goes into this whole diatribe about the trans movement and the LGBTQ movement taking up way too much space. And it just doesn't read well as a black man. You know? And I don't know. I'm trying to read some of your comments. And I think the fact that, like, his audience still is largely white. So, like, what commentary are you really making? And at that point, I just turned it off because I thought it was lazy. And I feel like you could still, I don't even have a problem that Dave Chappelle is controversial because I think there's some ways to critique the skit. I think there's ways to critique other things that we like Boondocks or whatever. Sure, but I think I don't think Aaron McGruder's, even though it's problematic, I don't think his craft was lazy. I don't think the Chappelle show was lazy, but I do very firmly feel like this last special is just lazy. It didn't. And I mean, yeah, I've been to a few Dave Chappelle shows. His audience is very much so white males. You can look at the audience; it's white, but whatever. I mean, if people have missed the point about what he's trying to say, was a joke good? You know, it's like I don't know. Y'all are free to explain the joke to me, but I think there's a better way to get to that point, and I think there's a better way to make a joke about the conversation around who gets to say the N word and who doesn't, and how some of us don't even like the word being used in our own community. I think there's a better way to get to that joke without invoking the ire of the gay community. But whatever. I'm not that invested in this, but okay. All right, people have been asking me about the Black Lady sketch comedy show. Is that the name of it? Black Lady comedy sketch show? Black Lady sketch comedy on HBO. Okay. What are my thoughts on the Black Lady sketch? I can't lean back because I have the camera on manual focus, so I'll be a blur. All right. So my thoughts on this show are: I'm very happy the show is on HBO. Very happy. I do not think that. Well, let me back. This is a statement I want to make. If black is not a monolith, why do we all have to like a black something that's on TV? I'm happy it's on the show on HBO. I'm happy the representation. I'm happy there's all the black women staff. It's black women executive producers. This is really like a black woman project, which is so rare in TV. So I'm all for it. But I think it's interesting how we decide what gets to be in the canon of blackness. If black is not a monolith and we set everything to the singular standard of like, is it black enough? I have seen some critiques, particularly around Robin Thede, however you say her name, the light-skinned one. I will say, I think what HBO does put on when it comes to black women consistently, from Insecure to Two Dope Queens to Amanda Seals to now Black Lady Comedy Sketch Show, is that it is all very black middle-class humor. I think that's where if I was going to give a critique of the show, that's where it's going to land. And so I get why there's a certain audience of people who are not going to care for the show. But I honestly haven't had time to sit down. I watched episode 1 and 2, and I thought some of it was really corny, and I thought some of it was really funny, and I'm okay with that. I enjoy it. I think some of it's supposed to be corny. Yeah. I don't know if I've given it enough of a chance to give a genuine critique of it, but I think where I do land consistently, even when things I don't really like, I really liked Insecure, but I didn't like some of the other things. I actually thought Amanda Seales special was funny, surprisingly enough, but I think it's all that stuff is consistently very like middle class, upper middle class black humor. And sometimes it gets a little cringy when they try to invoke or speak on or make passing critiques or make humor or light of the idiosyncrasies of what's considered hood black folk or poor black people, because it's like, you couldn't walk down the street in the hood, but okay. I mean, Quinta probably could. I don't know, girl. But it just all reads a little in a certain tax bracket to me. But other than that, I think it's great, and I'm happy that it's been renewed for a second. It's been renewed for a second season, so I'm happy for that. And maybe I'll come back and talk about it more once I think we're 4 episodes in now, and I've watched 1.5. I need to do better. I need to do more, but I also need to get the lit review done for my PhD application. Okay, so the VMAs. First of all, I am a Lil Nas X. I'm not a stan, but I'm definitely a fan, and I'm out of alcohol. Got me a little bottle of Prosecco from Walmart when I went in to get my Nair. That's probably the one unhealthy thing I do when it comes to my private parts, is I Nair. Because the bitch can't get waxed. That was a random aside. Take it as you may. But Lil Nas X, I'm very happy for him. The Panini, I don't really care for the Panini song, but I just love the whole journey of Old Town Road. I love how it's been overplayed, oversung. I love that the youths can sing along to it. I love his personality and his humor. I love that he trolls us continually. Even the way he's like, he's gay or he's queer or whatever. The way he came out, the way he's taken the sort of people being upset with him about his sexuality, which doesn't make any kind of sense. Just how like joyful he is. It's like such pure black boy joy that I really, really, really enjoy him. And I like seeing that he comes from like a black family that really has his back. It seems like, he's brought his sisters to award shows with him. He's talked about his dad and his mom on his Instagram. I'm so happy for him and happy to see him win. I think he deserves it all. And I'm happy to see, look, we all might not like Miley Cyrus, but at this point, the whole family is kind of trying to make us think twice about being like they all ain't shit. Including Miley herself, because Miley sang down. And I really feel like that's an ode to her godmother. What's her godmama name? Dad, why am I running a blank? What's the big titty white woman name? Dolly Parton. Why was I thinking Patty something? All right. Dolly Parton is Miley Cyrus's godmother. And I actually hear like young Dolly Parton when Miley sings those more, I don't know the word for it, but whatever the fuck she sang at the VMAs, I was hearing a young Dolly. And I know they're close. And so I imagine a part of her ability to sing down like that, because one thing, she might culturally appropriate, her twerk might be whack, she might look like she bathes once a week, whatever you want to say about Miley, the bitch can sing. And she sang down on that, and I was hearing Miley all through the tone, and I was with the shits on that one. Also, Lizzo, because somebody asked me to talk about Lizzo co-opting or stealing, or however you want to classify it, that I took a DNA test, turns out I'm 100% that bitch. And my whole thing is I can't comment on it because I tried to dig into it a little bit more. I used to work in publishing. I worked at Universal Music Publishing Group. I worked in performance rights at BMI and ASCAP. And now I work with an IP cohort, the Social Justice Intellectual Property Initiative. And so, I think maybe I have a decent understanding of like intellectual property and publishing and music and licensing and all that. And it's murky for me because where did Lizzo actually get the influence from that line from? Because she's before thanked someone else for writing that line for her, which means that someone else co-opted that line. And so you finding out after your song, and I mean, that song's been out for so long, and now that it's just hitting the mainstream tipping point, that now someone's coming out and talking about, I mean, the girl has receipts, so I don't think the girl is lying about that being something she tweeted and then someone took and put into a song and then the song blew up. But I don't know, is it fair to say that Lizzo stole it because she's credited someone else with co-writing the song? And specifically, before it even came out that it was someone else's tweet, she had tweeted the person thanking them for allowing her to use that lyric in their song. Not the person who actually wrote it, but the co-writer, the person who's listed as a co-writer on her song. I don't know. That's a real difficult one to talk about. But I love Lizzo's performance. I love what it means to have various sized, various shaped black women working it and twerking it and doing the damn thing. I love how much she just embraces her body. And like, you know, I even think sort of some of the plus size movement has been commodified, where like, you know, you're looking at these women and everyone miraculously has a flat stomach. Like how you 200 pounds with a flat stomach without a tummy tuck or liposuction? Lean it this way. Okay, so I'm not in the picture. I would like to know. You know, you constantly get barraged with these images of women who are not stick figures, but they still have some of the same shape as someone who's skinny. You know, the same sort of proportions, just a little bit more meat in the right areas. And it's like, how were you able to get your thighs thick but not your gut thick? How your fupa still a little bulb and not a little hang time? Like, put a bitch on. Oh, your doctor? Okay, thank you. And so I love how much Lizzo firmly stands outside of all of that. And she pulls up women. I mean, look at the stage. Look at who's on the stage with her. Look who's clouds. Like, look who the dancers are. It's just so awesome and so dope that I loved it. Also, Missy Elliott is so influential. Sis. I actually loved Missy Elliott's performance. It's like so many of us have so many memories from middle school, but coming of age as a young adult and being able to see the influence of Missy and the creativeness of her videos, you know, what her and Dave Meyers could come up together, just her imaging and her representation, and like her really co-signing and validating like the weird black girl. You know, she's like black girl magic through and through, and I'm so happy that she won an award. Okay, so that's all the things I have to talk about for this Pop Snark. How long have we been on now? How does it tell me how long I've been on? Ooh, we got 3 more minutes. All right, so here's what you can do. If you send a donation, I will answer your question. We're gonna close this out at a minute. At 60 minutes, at an hour. I was gonna say close that other minute. So we got 3 minutes. So you can send. Ooh, these comments are so delayed. Oh, y'all saying I'm saying it's Lizzo and I say Lizzo, whatever. It's Lizzo, but I think of Liza Minnelli. Correct me every time I'm wrong, though, because don't let me be wrong. Yeah, I said I was going to link to the story in The Atlantic about the Amazon fire and the larger ecosystem. It was very hard to get this layout. Yes, it's very hard to set this up. You have to have patience and an understanding of technology. Okay. When are you going to get an assistant and get a podcast going? Damn, is that shade? Just come for the jugular. Okay, so Khalees Allen, thank you. I met with the producer to help produce a podcast is going to cost money, so I'm going to brand my Patreon because I have definitely been slacking on the Patreon. But thank you those who have continued to donate and support. It's definitely meant a lot, and it definitely does go to this. This cam link was $100-something. This whole setup. So I'm trying to figure out ways in which I can generate more money without assuming more labor, because I need to be able to pay people for their services in order to get the podcast and the book club launched. I am unlikely to get an assistant because my personal space, I got too many things going on. I just don't trust folk like that. But I do have the syllabus cohort. I have people together. They on the Slack. I just haven't commented in the Slack yet. But this week we're going to get that together. We're going to start on creating the syllabus. The website is, you go to smartbrowngirl.com and see we're building out the website right now for the book club. Yeah, but hopefully the goal is like this fall. But it's just a lot going on. It's a lot of moving pieces. Yari Indira wants me to mention her book. But what's the book? How am I gonna mention your book, but you ain't tell me what the book is, sis? Everyone's commenting on my hair. I feel like for the next few videos, no matter what I talk about, the comments are like, girl, I'm here for the video, but your hair. It's gonna be consistently that. We'll see how it goes. Yari, thank you for the donations, but are you going to tell me the name of your book? Yes, I did. Somebody asked, did I do One Love Travel Club? Yeah, like 2 years ago I went to Thailand. I didn't discuss mass shootings because how many times we talk about mass shootings and come to the same conclusion, and that's not for me to discuss. It is for our politicians to get into the office and do something different. Y'all all asking questions, and I said, if you send a donation, I'll answer your question. But look at you, asking questions. All right. Okay, so Yari Indira has a book called The Black Woman's Journal. Sounds interesting. But she don't... Can we get a link? Why are my DMs? Yo, my video was blue before I got on here. And all my friends were like, you look amazing in blue. Alright. Thank you, Why. Girl, I should hire you. You want to come be my assistant? Get them together. Remind people. Okay. Thank you. Somebody just sent $2. Please make a course on branding for your passion. All right. I'm kind of like... I've been thinking about making like a webinar or something, you know, that's passive income. But I wanted to, like, I think most people that make webinars very much so do it for the income and not for passing on the knowledge. And I kind of am just thinking of like, what am I really going to teach you that's not available on Google? Oh man, Tanisha, yes, I do. Did you just DM me on Instagram saying I'm always talk about how bad I am at promoting my book? I'm horrible. But we're going to get all that together. We're going to get all that together this fall. But with regards to doing a webinar, I would need something that, I don't know, something on branding doesn't really, like, I don't see what value I can really add to that. Read Seth Godin's Tribe. That's pretty much what I have on that. I would have to think of something that like really, I'm really giving a person, like if I charge them for it, they really are getting something of value and not just me putting something out into the universe simply because I can make money off of it. So there's that. Wahama is a whole grown woman. You know, me saying she could be my assistant might not really be an opportunity for her. She got a whole YouTube channel herself. If you watch 90 Day Fiance, Love After Lockup, all the shits and giggles on WeTV and Lifetime, she be reviewing all of that. Sis, what did I say? 90 Day Fiance? I was watching all them reviews when they had the dude that had the chick from Colombia or something. And, oh, man, because while I was doing the accents, and it was sending me every time. It was... And then they had the Hawaiian girl or Samoan. Oh, they treated that poor boy so bad. So bad. But you could go check out Wahama, because she definitely does all the reviews. All the TV we be watching, talking about girls don't make no kind of sense, but I can't stop watching because it's a train wreck. That's what she good for. Well, if I knew you was going to be logging on, next time I'll make you a moderator. Moderator, yes. I don't even know what the moderator thing does or works, but yes. All right, I'm finna log off because it's going slow. But thank you everyone for joining me. I feel really good about this pop snark. Like, I think it went pretty good. You know, I think it looks good. It sounds good. I hope you guys, it took a lot of work. It does take between getting everything together, doing all the research, getting all the links and the pictures, formatting, putting it out on the OBS, setting everything up, because I have to change all my camera settings in order to get this. I have to change my camera back, which is going to be a bit of a, oh, thank you so much, Urban Eve. It takes a lot of work. So I was thinking of the time because I spent like 4 hours on Saturday doing this. I spent Friday getting it together. So altogether, I think to set up a Pop Snark Live and then do it is about, it's like 12 hours. It's a lot of work. So I would love to do these more, but what I am thinking of doing in the name of getting the podcast together is turning Pop Snark into a podcast that would be available for my Patreons, to help facilitate. It's like, am I adding more work for myself, but to help facilitate the book club and then the actual podcast that I want to produce, because all that stuff costs money and I need funding for it. I also need to email these foundation people that have hit me up. Girl, it's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. And I need to finish my PhD application because I am dragging my feet. But thanks for watching. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you to everyone who commented along. Sis got a whole album talking about Step 1 is my album on iTunes, Google Music, and Spotify. Thank you, Melita. Let me go look this shit up because I got Spotify. Wait. It said Mulata. Oh, here you go. Sis singing. Oh, look. Can you see it on the thing? There she go. Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone who donated. Thank y'all, so sweet. I love all y'all. Y'all the shit. Y'all the best. All right, I'm out. Deuces.